Let's start Chapter 7 of French for Reading. I've got a few pictures of the planet Venus here, because that's what you just translated the text about, and it's kind of interesting because we know a lot more about Venus than we did when that text was made. We've got three pictures here. These were taken by the space probe Magellan in the 80s and 90s. I worked on that space probe when I used to be an engineer. And this first one is what Venus looks like from the distance, covered in clouds. You really can't see anything. The middle one is a true color version of what the surface looks like. And you can tell it's a pretty stark planet. It's just really hot. There's nothing going on there. And then this is a relief where different elevations are marked with different colors. It's not a true color version. It's just so that you can see where the mountains are. So that's the planet Venus. Now what we're going to do is we're going to look at the passive voice. So let's start off with an active voice sentence. That's the regular subject, verb, predicate. The author develops his thesis. Standard sentence. And in French, that's going to be l'auteur développe sa thèse. So same word order, subject, verb, direct object. Now we can keep that meaning by changing it around and putting it in the passive voice. The thesis is developed by the author. Now that's not beautiful English. We're not going to put it in beautiful French, but it's going to be a paradigm for the passive voice because sometimes the passive voice is really useful. So in English we have the subject, and then we've got the word is followed by the past participle. So with the perfect tense we would have the word has. So this is the thesis is developed by the author, not the thesis has developed by the author. This is a passive voice, is having this verb to be there as a helping verb followed by the past participle. And very conveniently, it's the same form in French. La thèse est développée par l'auteur. The thesis is developed by the author. And so we have être followed by the past participle. Now the past participle, since it's following être, will agree in gender and number with the subject. So that's why we have an E there, because la thèse is feminine. So the basic rule is that the passive voice equals être plus the past participle, the participe passé, often with par l'auteur. But you don't need the par. You don't need to say who did things in the passive voice. We could just say la thèse est développée. The thesis is developed. And in fact, that's like the best way, the best use of the passive voice in English is if you want to say that something happened, especially something negative, but you don't want to mention the person who did something negative in order to help them save face. This is what's known as a politeness theory, is that we develop structures in languages to help people not lose face or to lose status or be embarrassed. So if we were in a classroom and you did really poorly on a test, and you're really discouraged, and I feel discouraged because you feel discouraged, but we're looking at your paper there, and I point out, I could say, oh, you made a mistake in this line. And that sounds kind of accusing, but to be a little polite, I could say, a mistake was made in this line, and I wouldn't have to point out that it was you who made it, even though it would be kind of obvious. But it's just kind of like a polite way of letting people know that something negative happened without sounding accusing. So that's one of the best uses of the passive voice. Okay, so with the passive voice in French and English is être, to be, with the past participle, often with par or by if we want to indicate who actually did the action. Now in French, you have to watch out for verbs conjugated with être in the passé composé. So that means there's two reasons why you can conjugate verbs with être in French. Either because they're intransitive verbs of motion and you're putting them in the past tense, or because it's passive voice. So verbs like venir, mourir, naître, those are all verbs that are conjugated in the passé composé with être. So they're going to look like the passive voice, but they're not. They're intransitive. They can't be passive. Only transitive verbs that have a direct object can be passive. So if we have the sentence, il est mort, we've got subject, être is a helping verb, and the past participle of mourir, and so that is he died. Now here we have il est venu. So subject, helping verb être, venu, past participle of venir, to come, and that's not he is came. You can't say that. No, it'd be he is come. Ooh, that sounds really archaic, like a Christmas carol. Maybe we used to speak like that in English, but we don't anymore. So we say he came. Il est venu is he came or he has come. Il est né. That's né is the past participle of naître, to be born. So il est né was the past tense. So naître we don't to be born. It's already kind of in the passive voice. So that would be the past tense to be born was he was born. All right. So let's move on here and talk about another form of the passive voice, the past passive. So we can have a sentence, le chat a mangé la souris. The cat, then we've got a mangé, so that's the passé composé, has eaten or ate the mouse. So the cat ate the mouse. But I could also say, la souris a été mangée par le chat. The cat has been, so this is the past participle of être, and then another past participle of manger par le chat. The mouse was eaten by the cat. So this a été can be translated was. It can also be translated as has been. The mouse has been eaten by the cat. And we don't need to have the par le chat. We can leave that off. If I want to just say that the mouse was eaten, I don't want to hurt the cat's feeling, I could just say the mouse was eaten. I don't have to mention who ate him. So the past passive is the present tense of avoir, the past participle of être. So that's PP is the participe passé, or the past participle. That's the abbreviation used in the dictionary, so it's good to recognize it, of être, which is été, plus the past participle of a verb, often with par. So this two past participles, été plus another past participle, is going to be a sign of the past passive voice. So here are several sentences to translate, and write down the answers, and when you have translated them, you can correct them.